Look, now we move on to another topic, or a topic, actually a theme that has been growing over the last few weeks here on the platform, and it's the idea of, well, an outflow of good Kiwis post-COVID. We were locked up, our borders were closed for a long time. Now they're reopened. We're being incredibly picky, in fact, many would say over-picky about who we now allow in, particularly in terms of migrant workers. But for 2 years, the great New Zealand OE has been on hold. Our people, our young people who have traditionally taken part in a generational diaspora around the world have been locked up at home. And also the fact is life here is not quite as nice as it used to be. Our country is in something of the doldrums. And it has been identified by many groups that we are having an outflow of New Zealanders who are worth something to this country, who will contribute in positive ways to whatever country they are in. I've noticed it amongst the people I know, and a young woman I know is one of those. So I thought we would get her on the program today and ask her why she is leaving New Zealand at a time when she really could make a huge amount of herself here, and how she feels about how long this departure will be for. So we further analysed what some would call the talent drain, the brain drain, the person drain, and we are joined on the line by a woman who was going to be in the studio with us, but tested positive for the old COVID last night, so joins us on video link from home. Her name is Susannah Harper. She is an almost graduated law student at Victoria University. Susannah, thanks for joining us. How's the COVID treating you?
Thank you for having me, Sean. This is my second time round, so I'm feeling quite a lot stronger this time round than last time round. It's not too bad. It's fine. I was quite surprised when I tested positive, actually, because I was feeling fine, but,
all right. Okay. Okay, second it. Now, Susannah, when are you leaving New Zealand?
I'm leaving on the 10th of August. So I'm leaving Wellington at the beginning of next month and leaving the country on the 10th of August. I'm going to Paris. I'm traveling to Paris to study at a university called Sciences Po University as part of a global exchange program with Victoria University. So essentially I've gone through 4.5 years of my degree, and it takes 5 years to do a conjoint, and I will be finishing the remainder of the degree at Sciences Po in Paris.
I know that you have, as you finished off your degree, you've been doing, is it paralegal work? You've been working for a barrister in Wellington, working towards, I guess, being a lawyer. Can you honestly tell us, though, you've got this 6 months in Paris coming back. Is it your intention to return after that or not?
At the moment, it's a one-way ticket. But I imagine I will be doing most things in my power to stay away from New Zealand and stay in Europe.
Firstly, can I say that's sad, because I know you and I know you're an incredibly talented individual and a talented student, and those that you have worked for in the profession of law rate you highly as well. I'd also put it to you that this country has invested something in you by way of the education system that you've accessed, and we lose something by your departure. Why don't you want to come back to New Zealand once you've finished your degree?
Absolutely, and I feel as though New Zealand has set me up extremely well, as in I've been nurtured here from a young age. I grew up in a rural community and I was nurtured there with good parents, good education, got sent to a school up in Christchurch, then came to university in Wellington. I've had all of the opportunities I could possibly ever imagine or want thrown my way. I think it gets to a point, though, where you feel as though you've reached a ceiling, or you're going to reach a ceiling on the opportunities available to you around this age and stage. And it's interesting what you said about, that we've been barred from being able to have our OE for a couple of years. But I actually think it's a bit more than just having an OE. For a lot of young New Zealanders, it's not just about getting out and seeing the world. It's actually, is it more likely that I could actually make something of myself somewhere else? Is it more likely that I could have broader opportunities, etc., in a different country overseas? I mean, for young people like me, if you think about your prospects, the theme right now is, well, you finish your degree, you've got a huge student loan, you then snatch up the nearest grad role you can get, work for the next 10 years to maybe try and put a little bit aside for a deposit on a house, but it's incredibly difficult to save right now because of the cost of living. So your ability to save has completely diminished, and you'll work hard to try and put a deposit down on a house so that in turn you can spend the next 20 years of your life paying off your mortgage. And to a young Kiwi, that does not seem like a particularly exciting future, when essentially I could pay a similar cost of living and live in one of the best cities in the world. And it's sort of a no-brainer, really. Why would I not choose to live in one of the best cities in the world and live for about the same amount? If I'm not going to be able to save a hell of a lot here, why would I not choose to live in one of the best cities in the world?
Yeah, and you've got to say the livability of New Zealand cities on international scales is dropping rapidly. Do you have friends and contemporaries who feel the same way, Susannah?
Absolutely, and I've been asking a lot of people about it, because I've sort of had to ask people, is it just me? Is it just me who's noticing this? And as everybody I've talked to has said, no, we want to go too. And that's what I mean about it being more than just an OE. It's not just restlessness or boredom. It's more than that. There's something about the future here that isn't exciting or compelling anymore. I mean, coming from a small rural community, I would be shocked about what I've been able to do now in Wellington. But now that I'm here, it's no longer enough for me anymore.
I want to ask this question as much as you can. Put aside your age and your stage. Mm-hmm. Do you think this country, in the way it thinks, in its spirit, in its politics, in its society, is expanding and growing? Is it static, or is it somehow contracting?
I think it's contracting. I think that we are becoming more and more closed-minded, which is one of the reasons why I want to go, because, I feel as though we are moving in a direction where we are required to think in a certain way, and if we don't, it might not be socially acceptable for us. And I'm interested to know why people think the way that they think, why people feel the way that they feel, and it's getting more and more difficult to do that here. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but it's becoming more and more difficult to have those open conversations with people, to explore those ideas, to explore those backgrounds, and it's limiting. It's completely limiting in terms of discussion, expansion. It's just, even I've noticed it in university. There's a direction of thought, and there's limiting and critical thinking.
Yeah. Well, I know you're going to do well wherever you go, Susannah, and I wish you the best, but I do think it is a loss to the country. I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning, and you've given us all, I am sure, some food for thought. So good luck on the COVID recovery, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. That is Susannah Harper. She's a young fifth-year conjoint law graduate. She wouldn't tell you herself, though, but I can tell you that Susannah is the third best university mooter in the world. And I think she got a slew of what are called Dean's Prizes or Dean's Awards from Victoria University this year. So she is a loss, but she is specialising and she is interested in international human rights. So maybe someone who is going to go overseas anyway. But I think really interesting to get a perspective about what's happening brain drain-wise and how young people are feeling about this country. Obviously, there is a pent-up OE demand, but that seems to be a desire to get out of here that is more fundamental and speaks more about perhaps changes in our society and the way we are treating each other.